Welcome. My name is Boris, and recently a friend of mine asked a question about how do we go about disidentifying from our thoughts? How do we go about noticing the spaciousness between our thoughts and what we truly are? I imagine this is tied into our experience of being disturbed by our thoughts. There's a couple of beautiful crows doing a air dance. See, this is what the mind does. It gets distracted. And sometimes these distractions are pleasant, and sometimes these distractions can be very disturbing and create unrest in us and create a sense of anxiety, fear, constriction, limitedness, and all of these things that naturally we want to move away from, as naturally as we want to move away from pain. So how do we do this moving away without suppression, without repression, without fighting? There is a way. The most traditional way of, let's say, distancing yourself from your thoughts is through meditation. The most traditional meditation is perhaps the Buddhist meditation of Anapana, which is breath meditation. So in breath meditation, you are instructed to follow the in-breath and the out-breath, the in-breath and out-breath, and rest your attention only there. And as your mind wanders, you bring it back. And as it wanders again, you bring it back again. And as it wanders a third time, you bring it back, and you do so ad infinitum. And eventually your mind will settle on the breath. First for short periods, then longer and longer and longer. And this is a lengthy but sure path. Sometimes it could be a little bit of a tug of war when you're doing this meditation, or any kind of concentration meditation where you constantly have to bring your mind under control. What I want to share with you here is something slightly different and perhaps a lot more direct. The most direct way of perceiving this disidentification from thought, this freedom from thought, is what is called resting as the I am. Resting as the I am can also be viewed as a kind of meditation, but you'll see its direction is slightly different. This is the kind of technique that was encouraged by Nisargadatta Maharaj, Ramana Maharshi, Muji. What does this technique involve? The first step is to identify that sense and space of beingness. The place from which you say I. You say I all day long. I want to do this, I think that, I will blank. So all day long we speak as this I. Now where does this I rest? It does have a subtle resting place. Perhaps more accurately, a spring or a source, like a wellspring in the ground. And the first step to resting as the I am is to identify that space, that alcove, that spring. And how do we go about this? Well, it's quite simple. We put down and we put aside everything else that we've been holding. So we can start with our senses. It is not in the hearing sense, so we put the hearing sense aside and the sounds aside. It is not it's not a visual object either, so we put the sight aside. It's not a fragrance, so we're going to put the fragrances aside, our sense of smell aside. It's not a taste either. We're going to put the taste and the gustatory senses aside. Neither is it something that can be touched or felt in the sense of some physical perception of touch. So we're going to put our physical perception of touch aside. What does that leave us with? It leaves us with our mind and our inner emotions. Okay. So the sense of I am does not rest within thoughts either. Thoughts are always perceived by you, isn't it so? So we're going to leave thoughts aside because this I am alcove cannot be found in thought. Okay, so then it's not the mind's memories, fantasies, beliefs, or any thoughts about anything. What are we left with? We're still left with an inner sensation where we feel emotions, where we feel energy, movements. Is that sense of I am within the energy movement? It isn't. And we know this because we can say, I feel sad. So even in our languaging, it is obvious that I is prior to sadness. Because we can see sadness, that means we are not that sadness. So we put our inner sensations also aside. What does that leave us then? With all of our thoughts, perceptions, and sensations put aside, you still remain. But as what? You remain as this sense of beingness, an intuitive sense that I am. It is tangible, not in the way that sensations and perceptions are tangible. It is tangible in an intuitive sense. So, putting aside everything that we can objectify, we look for that space which still remains. No matter how much we put aside, there is a part of us, we can say it like this for now, that remains, that we cannot put down, that we cannot put aside. Find this part. It is easily findable. It's no great mystery. You speak from it each and every moment. You think from it each and every moment. It's that place from which you say, I. As you find this space, the next step in this technique is to simply lay down into it as if it were a kind of lazy boy, as if it were a very comfortable chair or bed. You lay down into this sense of I am, this beingness. You simply rest into it. And it's very comfortable there. You are quite undisturbed. Until the mind presents another suggestion. And another suggestion might be to think about this, or why are you doing this, or what am I going to have for dinner? So, there is a difference between this and traditional meditation, that as you rest in the I am, it becomes quite apparent to you, even from the very first moments, that the thoughts, the mind's suggestions, if I am here, then the mind's suggestions are kind of wisps that fly or move in front of me. As you notice this again and again and again, with each thought that arises, and you choose to just rest in this comfortableness of being, you'll see greater and greater spaciousness begins to permeate that experience of rest. At first the thoughts might seem like they're right here, right in front of your face. But within short moments of resting as the I am, you will begin to see that the thoughts, instead of being right here, begin to grow in distance. And soon they're felt to be over by the mountain over there. And you are resting in absolute quietude, even when the thoughts are there. With continued experience of this, with the continued taste of resting as the I am, and watching the thoughts arise spontaneously without being disturbed by them, the identification the strong tie and attachment and personification or personalization of thoughts begins to disintegrate. And as it does so, a greater and greater freedom arises in the mind and in your sense of experience of life. Because you go out and you look at the world, and whereas before you would refer to your thoughts, oh, I don't like this, oh, that person is blank, whatever judgments that it would present, you would feel that it personally is about you, that you must take responsibility, that you must take accountability for these thoughts because you've identified yourself with them. When this sense of identification begins to dissolve, your experience with thoughts that arise is much different. They will arise as a kind of suggestion, as a kind of sound, as a kind of non-personal expression within the field of experience. And you can take the suggestion or you can leave it. And it soon becomes a very comical experience because you see that the suggestions and the thoughts that the mind presents often are quite unrelated to the experience, or arbitrary, or without any foundation whatsoever. So from a feeling of oppression and feeling disturbed by your thoughts, you move to a greater clarity of enjoying them as a play of consciousness, just like everything else that you're seeing. So I hope that's helpful. I may do a guided meditation or a guided instruction where we go step by step into resting as the I am. But for now, you can try it on your own. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.